episode of the Gathering Place. Susan's on video, and today we're at session number 11, and we're going to do all about making homemade vanilla, and we're going to make a drink called the Montezuma. Its the short name is Monty 2, and if you ordered one after somebody else wanted one, you could call it the Monty also, or the Monty 2. So without further ado, we'll get started here. First, we're going to take out our Clean Cuisine Playtex food preparation gloves. Get a nice pair of these going on, just in case. Even though I'm dealing with alcohol, it's not a big deal. But just so we're nice and clean, we're going to do this. So, by the way, these are still made. They're called O-Cedar Playtex Clean Cuisine gloves now. So we got that out of the way. You might wonder what all this stuff is up here. This is a bottle of vanilla extract made by Watkins. It's pure vanilla bean paste. Sorry. This one is also another version. It's Taylor and Coolidge vanilla bean paste. What are vanilla bean paste? Basically, ground up vanilla beans, a little bit of sugar, and a little bit of, could be some glycerin and some water. So we're going to be using that a little bit later, but the main ingredient is the vanilla bean itself. I'm going to take these and move this one over here. Back to making a drink. I'm going to take this, set it over here. And this one we don't need. This is a bottle of McCormick pure vanilla extract, okay? And actually it's empty, there's none in there. So we're gonna make homemade vanilla extract today. But this is 1 ounce. And this sold for about $4.76 last I checked. So what exactly is vanilla? This right here is a work in progress. I'll tell you about it in a minute. But what exactly is vanilla? Vanilla, believe it or not, is an orchid. It's a beautiful little flower. And these are the pods, and they're green. I'll show you what they look like. This is a vanilla bean orchid. These are the pods. The color is green. They're about 5, 7, 8, 9 inches long, something like that. And it grows on a vine that grows down the side of a tree. Okay? And these are actually pretty small, and I'll tell you about that in just a little bit. So, where are these things made? Today, for when we're making this, I'm going to use Madagascar vanilla bean pods. You can get them from a lot of different locations. This one here I got online. This one here I got online. These are 2 different kinds. Come from 2 different sources. This is kind of what they look like. In this jar here, it's soaking in a little bit of alcohol. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But the alcohol was clear when I first put it in here. And once the bean pods go in there, it turns this color. So eventually we're going to have vanilla bean extract. So what we want to do now is find out where this stuff comes from. And I'm sure you probably heard of vanilla bean extract from Madagascar. That's where a lot of it's from. It's the #1 producer of vanilla bean in the world, but they're not the only country that produces it. 80% of all the vanilla bean comes from Madagascar. 80%. And out of that little country, a little island country off of France, 70% of the people live in abject poverty. So the price of vanilla is very expensive. In 2018, just a short period of time ago, cyclones went through and pretty much devastated the entire crop. So anything that was left over, it sold on the market for more than the price of silver. And they thought maybe following that devastation of the crops, the price would stabilize, and I suppose it did to a little extent, but it stayed high. So there's several reasons why the price of vanilla is high. One of the reasons, and we'll talk about that later, but one of the reasons is the supply and demand. In the 19th century, the United States, because they couldn't get it as fast as they wanted to, they came up with all this artificial stuff called vanillin. And it tastes like, looks like, smells like vanilla. It's made with 250 different chemicals, but it cut into the supply of Madagascar and all the other different vanillas that are made in the world. So they had to compete with that. They still make this stuff. It's cheaper, and people use it all the time. So, but we're going to make real vanilla extract here, and we're going to eventually see that this is the best way for you to make it and use it, and it's the most economical way, even though the initial investment may be kind of on the pricey side, but eventually it's going to be really worth it. Okay, so it's very labor intensive. It's climate related. If the climate's bad, it could devastate the crops. It's from the start to finish, it's labor intensive. People have to go and hike through the rainforest, sometimes long distance, many miles from their home, to go into these rainforests where the vanilla bean grows. Then they have to harvest them. And it takes from start to finish about a year to get some vanilla, okay? So that's part of the reason why the cost is so high. There's a lot of other different processes that go into this. Obviously, if they start off green, what turns them brown? Well, one of the final things that they do, once it's been taken, 40-pound bags, put on their shoulders, they hike through the rainforest, often in the mud, to get to the processing center or where it's going to be purchased. And they'll go see middleman, and the best price that I saw for a kilogram of vanilla bean, 2.2 pounds, was $12. And $12 for 2.2 pounds is not enough for these people to live off of. Many of them have to grow other crops, they have to have other jobs, they just can't make a living with this. And the middlemen are the one that makes all the money. If you're fortunate enough to be able to drag your crop through the woods, through the rainforest, in the mud, for miles to get to the center, and you have a co-op, the best price I saw for your vanilla bean pods was $17. First thing they do is they take these 40-pound bags, they dump them onto the floor, and they grade them. They look at them, make sure everything is okay. And then they're going to weigh them again. Anything that's been discarded, you're only getting paid for what is accepted into the co-op. Then from the co-op, it is take they're walled cities, they're walled areas, have barbed wire electrified fences, and at night they have to have people guarding this territory. There's lots of people that are employed in Madagascar doing nothing but working in vanilla processing center. So why do they have to have guards at night? Because the number one reason why vanilla is so expensive is because, remember I said a couple years ago, the cyclones wiped it out, the price went through the roof. They thought it was going to stabilize, but it really didn't. The reason why it's so expensive because it attracts thieves. And the biggest number of thieves often are 9 years old, little children. They go into the dark and go steal these pods because they're starving. They want something to eat, and they're trying to sell this pod. Well, if you're the farmer, they allowed them to have guns and knives, and they're not going to really kill kids, but they're going to pick them up and arrest them, and often they're put into jail. Sometimes they're in their crowded situations, sometimes for years without a trial. So it's a pretty intense situation to get this beloved fragrance and this beloved flavor that we get and we enjoy in all of our things. So number one, make sure you know where it's coming from, where you're buying it from, and that the farmer gets the best possible price for their work. Otherwise, it's just a rip-off, because I've seen vanilla sell for as much as $160 a pound. A pound. These little things right here, $160. Okay, so to halt or try to do something about theft, many of the farmers have gone to putting codes, or what you want to call tattoos, for security on their pods. So if anybody steals this and then they try to sell it. Anybody that's looking out in the processing center realizes, oh, you don't belong to this. This belongs to somebody else. So they're trying to use that to cut it. Okay, so now the most important thing is these have to be hand pollinated, because remember I said it's a orchid, but its original location has nothing to do with Madagascar. It has everything to do with its original location was in a place called Veracruz, Mexico. And in Veracruz, Mexico, it used to be the center. I had a different name, I can't pronounce it, don't ask me, but it was basically the capital of the Aztec Empire. And then a guy by the name of Hernan Cortez, he came over from Spain, and he met with Montezuma II, or Monty II, and he thought he was somebody else, and he was there doing a religious ceremony or something like that. And so Monty II, he offered to Cortez this drink that was made with vanilla, and chocolate. Columbus had been over, in the area before, and it took chocolate back, but Hernan Cortez had never tasted anything like this. And so they mixed it with vanilla and chocolate and some other seasonings, some pepper, blah, 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 blah. And he was so impressed with it that he took it back to Spain for the crown. And Spain at the time was the biggest number of trades. They control most of the trade routes, and they sent it over to different European countries. Well, there was one problem. These cuttings, they used them, and they sent them over, and they had vanilla. The Queen of England, she was happy with her sweet meats made from vanilla, and there was ice cream and all this other stuff. But the French and the English thought that they were cut out. And so 300 years later, after this whole thing started, somebody in France recognized that there's something wrong. They weren't able to produce vanilla anymore. So they went back to Mexico and figured out what was going on, if they could. And they found that in Mexico, this little tiny bee called an orchid bee, a real pretty little bee, it's about the size of a flea. And it has no stinger, and its honey is not like the regular honeybees that we have today. It's like a little more watery, but it has more medicinal purposes. It's got more antioxidants and this, that, and the other. But this little tiny little bee was like made for no other purpose other than to pollinate this little flower. And that's why we have vanilla. And then, so they go back, the Frenchman goes back and says, aha, so now we know what's going on. In a little island also that was under the control of the French at the time, a place called, let's see if I can pronounce it, basically you spell it like Reunion, but you don't pronounce it that way. Little bitty island, and there was a slave master, and he had a slave, and he taught this one little boy, I think his name was Edward Albius, basic botany. And by the time he was 12 years of age, this little boy invented a way to pollinate the vanilla bean orchids with a little toothpick or a piece of wood or a little piece of grass and a technique with his thumb. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is why we have vanilla today. Most of it, including Mexico, is still making it this same way, hand pollinating all the vanillas. Okay, so I wanted to show you this thing right here before we get started. This is what we're going to use. We're going to make 3 different kinds of vanilla. We're going to make coconut. We're going to make vodka, or coconut rum, vodka, and bourbon. So most of it's going to be vodka, but I wanted to try a little bit of coconut. Now, and I'm not really interested in the coconut flavor. I think vanilla in itself is fantastic just the way it is. But I read that you can have 6 to 8 weeks before the flavor and the aroma of coconut completely goes away. But the end result is that you're going to have a vanilla extract that they say is sweeter and smoother. So that's what we want to try. So when you use coconut rum, which this is, when you add a flavor, the percent of alcohol is 26.5%. The Federal Drug Administration, the FDA, requires that in order for something to be pure vanilla extract, it has to have 35% alcohol. So this is way below that. So in order to correct that problem, this is basically vanilla beans in grain alcohol. This grain alcohol in particular is called spiritus. I don't know how to pronounce the rest of that name, but this one is from Poland, and they call it also rectified spirit. Another name is grain alcohol. It's like Everclear in the United States, but it's 1% stronger than Everclear. So this has got about 3 ounces of Everclear, or excuse me, of the spiritus in there with the vanilla beans. And what I did, and I'm going to show you how to do this in just a second, I took the vanilla beans, I cut them in half, and then each of those halves I took and I sliced it lengthwise down the middle, and that exposes all the beans and everything that's inside of that pod. And then that's what's inside this jar here. So, when we get all done here, we're going to put everything in these jars. These are just regular 8-ounce jars. And then the formula is for every ounce, it's actually 0.9 something per 9.9 ounces. Actually, the formula is 13.35 ounces for 128 ounces of alcohol. So you got to have 13.35 ounces of vanilla bean to 128 ounces of alcohol. Breaking that down, you're going to end up with about, what we're going to do to make it real simple, 1 ounce of vanilla bean. This is basically 1 ounce of vanilla beans. And there are about 8 or 9 of these in each one of those packs. So that's about 1 ounce. So we're going to take that, cut them in half, split them down the middle, and stick them in the jar. So this is, what is this? Sorry, I use this one over here. This is the first one I started with. I'm going to make that one for another one. Actually, I'm going to use this later. I'm just going to keep this, so there's always recipes that you would want to use to have a whole vanilla bean in there. So I'm not even going to use this, but it's out here. I'm just going to save it, use it for later. This is the other part of my original pack. This has got a 1/2 ounce in it, and we're going to add to it from here. But before I do that, eventually this is what they're going to store in. And I've got these little ball plastic lids over here. It fits perfectly on these. The reason I'm using plastic is I don't want to use metal. I don't want anything to affect the flavor of the vanilla bean while it's aging, maturing in the alcohol. So that's what these are for. So after I'm done aging it and everything is ready to go, you can do whatever you want, but I ordered these little cool bottles. And these are also 8 ounces, but they look kind of neat. And with those, I ordered some Avery Scallop Oval Labels. And they are like on craft paper, so it's kind of that craft color. And I printed these out, and this is what they look like. And I've got one on my jar already. Where did it go? There it is. So on one side, you've got a little vanilla bean in a pot up there, and it says Vanilla, the Gathering Place. So if you want to sell these, or you want to give them away as gifts, this is what you could do. On the back side, it says the date that it was started, that would be today's date, and then when you finally finish it, you put that on the back. Okay, so those are my labels, and I've got a blank set of them here and a pen. And when I get these all done, I'm doing 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm going to put the date started on these. And then once I'm done, now believe it or not, this is ready to, you can try it in about 6 weeks. If you wait till they're 18 months to 2 years, the difference is this will become 3 times as strong as this. So if your recipe called for 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, you could just put 1/3 of a teaspoon in there. It's like, well, who the heck wants to wait for 24 months or a year? What you can do is you can take it out after 6 weeks, and start using, put some more alcohol in it, and put some more beans back in it, and then this becomes your mother jar, and you just keep adding to it, whatever. And you'll never have to go to the store and buy extract again. But eventually, if you let this go for 2 years, you're going to take it out and you're going to strain it out with a strainer, put it into a new bottle if that's what you want to do. Take out all the beans, everything else, and cut all that, scrape everything off of there, and let it dry. And once it's dry, then you can add a little bit of simple syrup and maybe some glycerin, and turn it into your own, where did it go? Vanilla bean paste. Oh, looks like that. You ever had ice cream that has a little black specks in it? Well, that's what they are. They're from vanilla. And the other thing you could do, if you let it dry, you could just mix it in with some sugar and make some vanilla sugar. So, what we're going to do now, I think I've got everything ready to go. We're going to make sure you sterilize your jars, hot boiling water. What we're going to do is take open the rest of these vanilla beans. It says Madagascar vanilla beans. Sometimes you might see things that say, well, this says grade A. You can use grade B and it's just fine. Depends on what you want to use. Sometimes you might see the name bourbon on there. The island of Reunion and Madagascar, and there was another one, Mauritius or something like that. They used to be called the Bourbon Islands. So this little place called Reunion, which is where Edward Albus discovered or invented the technique to hand pollinate the vanilla beans. It went back and forth from Reunion, whatever, and it used to be called bourbon. And it's from the French Bourbon family, of which several kings came from that family, including Louis the 16th. Louis the 16th was the king that helped the United States during the Revolutionary War. And in honor of him, there was an area in Virginia. So I cut this in half. Now I'm opening it up, splitting it open to expose the beans and everything in there. Anyway, he, in response to his helping the Americans, there was an area called Bourbon, after his name, Virginia. And Bourbon, Virginia used to have what's now 120 counties that belong to Kentucky. And then once it became a state, I think it was 1792, Kentucky became whatever number it was. That became Bourbon County, Kentucky. And distillers started making whiskey there. So that's how they started calling it bourbon whiskey. Then you get to Tennessee, and they had a different process, an organic process, which was exposing the corn liquor or whatever it was they made it out of to maple, charred maple. And then they would put it into oak barrels. It had to be new oak barrels. Then after it aged and came out, it had that distinctly looking bourbon color. So, you know, these are all how vanilla came to be, and it's all associated. So anyway, we got those, and we're just splitting them down the middle and opening them up. It smells really good. It smells like vanilla. Can't imagine. Some people say that you don't need to split these down the middle. And I'm thinking, well, the biggest thing that's got the flavor and the aroma is inside the pod. So I'm cutting them up. So anyway, the purpose of this grain alcohol is we have to still get this end product, according to the FDA, close to 35% or above alcohol. So by adding grain alcohol to 26.5% coconut, we should have something nice. You know what I don't have over here is my measuring cup. Also can't get this lid off. I probably need Sierra that went back to Ireland already. Come over and help me get this off of here. Good gosh. Let's see if we can do it this way. I just got this yesterday, and I said this was an experiment. I wanted to try it, but I've read that this is what's going to happen. This is going to turn my there we go, my coconut sweeter, or my extract sweeter. I need a, yeah, hold on. Talk amongst yourself. Okay. So we got this right here. It's not ready yet, but it sure smells like vanilla. One thing I did with this, because this particular one had a metal lid, I put wax paper. I'm going to do that with these anyway, because you don't want anything touching or affecting possibly the extract. So this I'm going to take and put in here. And I'm going to top it off with coconut. Each one of these jars holds 8 ounces. I'm going to put it right up to the lid. And then, got wax paper over here. Just enough to make a little wax paper cap for it. Didn't know there was that much involved in vanilla, did you? Neither did I. Now I'll tell you something else I want to make sure that you understand. Believe it or not, I almost tried this. I saw a way for you to make this. So the object is to make sure your beans are totally saturated or totally covered with the alcohol. So I'm going to take and put a piece of wax paper over that. Grab one of my lids here. I'll get back to what I was saying in a minute. But anyway, I saw this couple of videos and I was reading about this. And I was really excited about it. People taking what I just did, only they're using metal lids, not plastic, and putting it into a high pressured Instant Pot or pressure cooker. And I almost was going to do that because supposedly you can get this process that's going to take anywhere between 6 weeks and 18 months to complete, or 2 years, in a half an hour. And I thought, oh wow, that's really cool. That would be really cool. So only thing I got to say to you is you all need to say thank you, Dahni, that you were a previous investigative reporter, because I did some research and I thought, you know what, this is an accident that may not have happened yet, but it was ready to happen, because you do not want to mix high pressure with alcohol. Unless you're in a laboratory, you got skills and you have the ability to rectify any problems that you might have. So anybody that's done that or thinking about doing it, don't do it. And don't say that I ever told you to do it, because I'm not going to tell anybody to ever do that. You're looking for an explosion to happen. You might have gotten away with it this year, last year, or however many times you've done it, but you're going to eventually not have a happy camper yourself. Okay, so this is coconut. I want to take this, and I want to make a label on there. It says coconut rum, or coconut. That's good enough. Coconut and coconut rum, actually. And today's date, Susan, is
25th.
3/25/23. Now you can do this if you want. I've been doing it for about a week. Every day I'd come in here and I'd look at my little jar and I'd shake it up. I don't know if that does anything or not, but maybe it makes me feel better, like I'm doing something. Because if you do this for a week, then what do you do the following week? Well, the following week, you're supposed to do maybe once a week. And then after that week, then you do maybe once a month. And then you just keep doing that, whatever, until you finally get done. Okay, so there's that one. Now, I got a coconut. The next one I want to do is bourbon. And I can smell the coconut in here. I guess I'll put it back in the bottle. Talk amongst yourselves. Gotta get there's my little doobie. Another thing you can do with this, if you really want to, you can put some sugar in it after it's done, and measure out 3 jiggers, which are 3 of these. Put a little simple syrup or something in there, put some ice on it, and it's a cocktail, vanilla cocktail, if you want to do that. Or you can just use it for making whatever you're going to make cookies with. And for those that are can't have alcohol, most of the alcohol cooks out anyway. And if you still have a problem with it, I don't know how to do it. I'm not interested in learning, because like I said, most of your alcohol is going to cook out. I don't see that there's a problem, but there is a way to make it with glycerin, but I don't know how to do that, so I'm not going to talk about it. So I'm going to empty this out. Talk amongst yourself again. Okay, so I'm going to cut this open. I need an ounce of these. Like I said, hold on, I gotta get my scales out here. Move this over there out of the way. Don't need this. Don't need that. Don't need this. Okay, a little piece of wax paper maybe. I got a piece there. Okay, so about 8 of these sticks supposedly is about 8 ounces. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There you go, 7. 7 of these makes 1 ounce according to my scale. So the first thing I want to do is cut these in half. Move this out of the way too, so you can see what I'm doing. Then I'll split these beans. Some say you don't have to. I say, like I said, that's where the beans the seeds are, is inside the thing. It's really not a difficult thing to slice them down the center. It just takes a little bit of time, like all of this does. But you can get your beans 10 countries and better. Do they all taste the same in every country? Probably not. Are there nuances in taste and flavor? Probably. Do I care? Not really. I'm gonna get mine from Madagascar. That's just my choice. You can do whatever you want. Use whatever alcohols you want. You can do blends. You can add Captain Morgan spice rum, and you might make a new flavor or something. I don't know. I would think vanilla is unique enough for me, and I would want to not run the risk of adding any flavors that might take away from that. By all means, add it to some chocolate. We're going to add it to some chocolate. We're going to make this Madagascar, or not Madagascar, but we're going to make this drink called the Montezuma or the Monty 2. And it has chocolate in it, as well as vanilla, which is what we're using today. All right, so primarily I am making three of these. Okay. I dropped it. I'm wiping it off. It's going in there. It's going to be covered with alcohol. Okay, so now I'm going to cover that with alcohol, and I'm using my bourbon. Want a little breathing room, but right up to the edge is 8 ounces. You have to take my word for it. Take this off and cut half, and there's mine. Oh, that didn't work. Cut too much of it off. Use this. Get a lid. I really don't think there's a problem with these plastic lids, but just to be on the safe side, I'm using the wax paper. So this one was bourbon extract. What was the date again, Susan?
3/25.
3/25/2023. All right, so it's got these little things in the front of these jars that are basically the right size for these little labels. It's kind of cool. So anyway, I got 3 left, and what I primarily want to do is make, let me measure these out. Let's see what 7 does again, because that's what it was before. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Perfect. All right, so there's 1. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Perfect. I'm liking this. Now I just get 7 out of this and I'll be very happy, because I just doing 3 more of these. All right, so let's see. Susan, could you give me a hand?
Mm-hmm.
Could you make, take this, cut this wax paper and cut me off a little piece?
There's scissors over there.
6, 7. Oh my gosh, actually 7. We're gonna call this 1 ounce, because I bet you anything it is. Unbelievable. 7 of these left. Yep. Oh my God. These people don't mess around. They can measure. They can weigh. Okay, so anyway, I'm making 3 times the amount with vodka as I am anything else, because vodka is, in my opinion, all the so-called neutral spirits, it has the least of taste. Now, having said that, doesn't mean you can go out and buy the cheapest vodka you can find and it's going to work for you, because bad vodka just tastes bad. And I used to use, because I'm really big on local sources. And Susan, can you find that bag that I just brought in yesterday from the liquor store? I want to make a shout out to a new liquor store I just found. I'm really big on using local sources whenever possible. If I can't get them in my hometown neighborhood, my town or state, at least my country. And as far as vodka is concerned, I used to use Tito's. And Tito's was made, or is made, actually in Texas. And then they were right up there with Absolute vodka. And it just had a nice clean taste to it. Didn't have a bad taste with using like you would with cheaper vodka. Yeah, this is, I just got this. Uncle Sam's, my new go-to guy. I go in, I see him, I met him, he was just opening up. This is like his grand opening this week. And told him some things that I use regularly, including this right here. Had to go pretty far to get this particular bourbon. Susan and I like it. It's a Tennessee bourbon made in Chattanooga. I like Tennessee bourbon better than any of the others, but that's my thing. Anyway, I told him about it, and he's going to have that in for us next month. So it's a really neat guy, Uncle Sam's. There you go. So since Tito's priced themselves out of the market, about 2 years ago, my son Daniel was in, and he went out and he bought some of this. I can't even pronounce it, but thank God they changed their name. It's a lot easier. And everybody been calling it that for years anyway. It was just called Stoli. And if you're freaking out about Russia right now, actually it is originally from Russia, but it is now made pretty much in whatever. The billionaire guy is anti-government, so he lives in some other country near Russia. They use Russian wheat to make this stuff, so it just has a nice clean taste, and it's no aftertaste, and it's reasonably priced. Okay, that one there, I'm gonna have to cut that up a little more, because we want to make sure that your vanilla is submerged in the alcohol. So eventually this is going to be changing colors. Okay, get another lid. Susan, could you help me out? Could you write, I need 3 of those. Vodka. Where's my pen? There it is. Vodka extract. 325. Okay, so I need this. I need to cut anything else over here. I don't think so. Yeah, do I need to cut this one? Make that one. Okay, so I'm going to cut these in half.
Do you want the label now?
Yeah, you can just put that on one of them. And I'll get these out and we'll be ready to go and start making, what did Sarah say? Let's go start to drinking.
I'm glad you enjoyed her.
Yeah, she was fun. She calls me Donald.
Not many people do.
Couldn't figure out who she was talking about sometimes. I guess I'm used to it now, so I kind of know.
Is this one going to be vodka extract?
All 3 of these are going to be vodka extracts.
Okay.
Hi, Bella.
Bella, I'm sorry. No, you'll have to eat later.
That sound that you hear there is actually a cat. Domestic cat. she's called a van, which is very similar to a calico. Always calicos and vans are both always female. The difference between them is just the coloring. So she's mostly white. She's got on the side of her, she looks like she's got a little duck on her back. She's an old girl.
16.
She's what, 14?
16.
16. She's kind of moody sometimes. Okay, so this one is also vodka. Oops. Anything you spill, you can lick it up with your tongue if you're drinking. But I'm not. Can I have some more? Can I have some more? It's really bad that I can't drink anymore, but I'm going to try these drinks. That's for sure. All right, last one. So what you do with these when you're done, you just put them someplace in a nice, dark, cool place. Cut them up if you want to. Thank you. It's nice to have an assistant when you're helping. Of course, it is kind of fun. But you know what? Oh my God, we're going to be in vanilla for a long time. This right here, where did it go? I mean, you only need about 2 beans per person a year. And that's less than 1 ounce. Now, I guess, you know, if you're making cookies and all that other stuff for a lot of other people, but basically, that's what they say we use per person is about 2 beans. 2 of these beans a year. And I'm going to do this one. Make a note of this one, Susan. I'm not going to split them down the middle.
Okay.
Because I'm really curious. Some people say that you don't need to do that, so I don't know. I just want to find out. So, I'll pull some vodka in there. Does my hands smell like vanilla?
Oh my eye. Yes.
Okay, so that one's ready to
That
go.
one's sticking out there.
Which one? Oh. Cut them, cut them, cut them. Okay, I need this cutter for anything else over here. We're getting ready to start the drinking. So eventually I'll take these out when they're done and I'll pour them into a little bottle like this. I've got some, I would have shown it to you, but it didn't show up yet. I've got some shrink wrap. You just pour it over here and you take a heat gun or a hair dryer and it shrinks on there in case you're trying to sell it. So this lets people know that it's never been opened. And I suppose if you want to make a living doing this or trying to sell it, you don't have to have a stainless steel kitchen and all that stuff, even though we pretty much do. Doesn't have to be approved by blah, 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 like it does other things, because you're using alcohol. It's kind of hard to get germs and bacteria if you're using alcohol. And another thing that's nice about this, because it is made in alcohol, it will last for a very, very long time. Okay, so let me see. I'll move some of this stuff out of the way. Move that out of the way. Move this out of the way. There's my little jars over here. Put my little jar of vanilla. Looks cool. Get that over there. I guess I don't need that. I don't need this. Probably could use another set of gloves. Nice thing about those, you have to order some more because my hands, even through the gloves, kind of smell vanilla-ish. I'm just doing this, even though the only person that's going to drink this drink is Susan. I'm just doing it because I don't want anybody to come back and say, you can't do that. It's not very sanitary. My gloves are large because I guess I got fat hands. Got fat hands. Big mouth. Constantly running it. So now we're going to get to drinking. Yay, get to drinking. So for this, which we're calling the Montezuma, actually it was Montezuma the second that met Cortez, and he ended up taking the vanilla back to Europe. But we're going to call it, if you don't want to say Montezuma, you know, there's a lot of historical craziness over that whole deal, that Montezuma conquered all these people. Well, the Aztecs were warriors, and one thing they were not accustomed to was all the diseases that the Europeans brought. And the Aztec civilization in 1 year alone lost 40,000 people. So I don't think that Cortez conquered them all by force. I think they all died due to these diseases and bacterias, and smallpox, actually, one of the biggest things that they had never known. Okay, so we got our shaker here. Let's set this over here out of the way. I don't think I need that anymore. I need a knife or anything. Okay, so what we want to do, first thing we want to do, I want to introduce my properties here. This is Los Vinos. This is from Mexico, and it is mezcal. And what is mezcal? I have one son that really likes this in his margaritas. Margaritas are traditionally made with tequila. So this is kind of like a smoky, peppery flavored tequila. I didn't like it in my margarita, but I thought, well, maybe this would be good if indeed Montezuma presented him with, or Cortez, with a gift that had alcohol in it. Probably didn't. But anyway, he said supposedly he drank 50 cups of this a day, and he could march all day if he was marching, because he's the emperor. I don't think he did that much. But he could do this all day long and wouldn't need any food or anything else, because it was just so invigorating. The coffee-like substance that had a lot of caffeine in it, you know, the chocolate, the carob, the cocoa. Anyway, so I'm going to start off with 3 jiggers, which is way I make most of my drinks. 3 jiggers of mezcal. Smells peppery and smoky, and it tastes that way too. 1, 2, 3. Set that aside. My next thing is going to be cocoa or carob. I use green and black organic cocoa. It's unsweetened. Now, I don't know if you can see this right here, but I got this shipped in because I was running out, and I had it shipped in, and they sent me one, and the thing was smashed like this bottom is right here, and I had to return it. Well, they didn't want it back, so they gave me credit for it, and I just found something else to use the rest of it in, and this was actually sorbet. A cleaned out sorbet jar, and I just put my green and black cocoa in it. But this is what it looks like. It's real dark, and it makes the best cocoa. So it says 2 tablespoons. I'm just going to put these right here. 2 tablespoons of this. 1 big old tablespoons of that. 2 of those. Then I'm going to add, let's see, a teaspoon of cinnamon. Let's just use this. I don't have my teaspoon out. If you want to be accurate, be accurate. Well, I can't do that because I can't do that because I can't get it in there. Let's just pour some teaspoon, pour the cinnamon in there. Forgot I left this lid off from last time. It's because I was making something else. Okay, so move that over there. And then we want teaspoon and a half of vanilla extract syrup. close enough. Now we got to stir this all up because I got to add one more thing, and that is a little bit of, you know, in a couple years from now, when I get done with all this stuff, I could have used my own vanilla bean paste. Okay, so I want to add a couple tablespoons of honey. Raw honey or whatever else you have on hand. And I know that honey and all these other things in here are kind of hard to mix up. So I'm going to add a special little ingredient to it to try to make it a lot easier to do. And that easier ingredient is called hot coffee. This is coffee that I made earlier today. I'm just going to heat it up. Pour 2 jiggers into my shaker. This is going to help me suspend all the ingredients thus far. I'm not done. I still got some more stuff to do. Kind of a, oh my, that looks chocolatey. Susan had one of these the other day. What did you think of it, Susan?
It was really, really good.
I tasted it. I thought it was really, really good too. Okay, come on, come on, come on, come on. Come on, come on, come on. Thank you. Let's see.
Is it hot?
I don't know. See if it's hot enough. Nope. Another 30 seconds. Keep on stirring. Sorry, I couldn't have this heated up before I made this, but that's just the way it is. I don't have a little. Could have had a pot or something over there. Heat it up, you know. Nice hot coffee on the hot. Come on, come on, come on. We're almost done. We just gotta get the suspension in here with the, let's see if this is good enough. You hot enough? Oh, I'm getting tired of this.
You're not gonna have any left.
Another 30 seconds. What else can I do? Okay, what I'm gonna do. They used to serve this stuff. They mix it from one thing to another, you know, and they drink it. It has this foam and all this other stuff. They put it in gold cups, silver cups, gold spoons, silver spoons, wood spoons. So we don't have any of that. So we do have some of these chocolate gold foil covered coins left over from, let me try one more time. Just to be on the safe side, I'm going to heat it up another 30 seconds. What the heck, while I'm punching a hole in this. So I'm going to put a hole in this with a bamboo pick. Because this is going to be part of the garnish to our drink. And I say part because this is not the only part. Just one of several. Come on, come on, come on. What else can I do? Okay, so this is our glass we're going to have here.
You can get the ice.
We're going to have a, huh?
You can get the ice.
I get the ice. Yeah, I can get the ice. Gotta get ice. Talk among yourself. Be right back. You probably see me over here. What's he heating up coffee for? And he's looking for ice. This doesn't make any sense. This guy's lost his mind. Oh, there's a method to my madness. I'm telling you. Okay, this has got to be hot. I don't care what anybody says. This has got to be hot. Okay, 2 jiggers of hot coffee. Oh my God, it's hot. That's good. That's good. Wow, that's hot. Ooh. Oh. Okay, well, it's going to suspend now. Oh yeah, all that honey mixing up in there. Okay, let's see what we got there. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, so now we want to put some ice in my hand shaker. I'm going to cool this drink off. Okay, put the lid on it. And shaken, not stirred. Bond, James Bond. Shake, shake, shake. Shake your booty. The harder you shake it, the colder it's gonna get. Want a nice cold, cool drink? Okay, now we're gonna take and we're gonna pour this off through a strainer. And there it is. There's your almost, your Monty 2, your Montezuma. Go on the strength of this. Put this over here. A little bit more garnishing.
Cream.
This, oh my God. Oh, I forgot. I can't believe I forgot that. Oh, we're gonna do it this way. We're gonna do it this way. No, we're not. Forgot to put the.
Whoa.
Forgot to put the. We're gonna try it again. We're gonna try it again. You have to put the. That looks pretty on top though.
The door.
Huh? Okay. One of those. One door. I'll get it.
I'll get it.
Oh, that door. Sorry. Okay, I forgot to put 2 jiggers of. Huh?
Can you put in 2?
Yep, I did. 2 jiggers of. Now I gotta get the stuff over here sick again. Where are you tonight? Where did it go? Huh. Where's my little strainer? There it is. Okay. Okay. There we go. Okay. Okay, so the last thing we want to do, what happened to my cinnamon stick?
It's in the shaker.
My God, it is. Isn't it? There it is. Cinnamon stick. Can't see it anymore. And you're going to put, believe it or not, a little bit of cayenne pepper over the top of that. Cayenne pepper, he said. Yeah, I said it was peppery, chocolatey. And then a piece de resistance, a little gold, and a little more edible gold on top of that. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is your Montezuma, or your Monty 2. May I have my assistant, please?
Oh, absolutely.
Now you can may go to drinking.
And it's a beautiful drink, too. I'll be happy.
You'll be happy?
Mhm.
Susan is going to be happy. Well, I'm happy that Susan's going to be happy. I'm Donnie, and this has been a wonderful time for me. I have no idea what we'll do next time, but we're going to do something next time. And until next time, from the Gathering Place, have a great day.